Hello, and welcome back to our Background Bites, where we are working our way through the Disney Renaissance. And today, we are talking about the best movie ever in the history of cinema. That's right, we are talking about The Lion King. We're talking about Hamlet with lions.
Let's do this.
So, first, as always, we start off with our plot synopsis. And we open with a glorious sunrise over the African savannah. All the animals.
Savannah! I'm gonna do the background
Exact.
music for
Just like
all the
that.
summary.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what the music sounds like. And then beautiful sunrise. All the animals are showing up because the new king has just been born, and he's going to be, I don't know, coronated, name day. I don't know what. I don't know what the name of received. Yeah, he's going to be shown off to the kingdom.
Yep.
And the king is, of course, a lion because it's the Lion King.
What?
We got the
Twist.
I know, right? Crazy.
What? No.
Then we immediately cut after the presentation. Presentation, that's what it is. Presentation of Simba. We cut to conversation between Mufasa and Scar. Mufasa being the king, Scar being the evil uncle, because there's always an evil uncle in these sorts of stories. We get some development for the character of Simba. You know, he talks about how he's looking forward to being king. He learned that he's a
just can't wait
What's a big
to
Yep, exactly. We get you know, he's a lovable scamp kind of character, but he gets himself into trouble with some hyenas because he goes where he's not supposed to. Fortunately, his dad is there to save him, but then we get a lesson about how one day dad won't be there to save you. And then that immediately cuts to the next scene where Scar has set up a situation. Actually, we get the reveal that Scar set up the attack with the hyenas. Then we cut to Scar set up a situation where Simba's in a canyon. He gets chased down by wildebeest because Scar got the hyenas to chase the wildebeest into the canyon. Mufasa goes down there to save his son, saves Simba, but gets killed in the process. Long live the king from Scar.
No!
Exactly. Simba gets chased away into the desert. He gets saved by
Run,
Timon and
never
Pumbaa.
come back.
Run away and never come back. He gets saved by Timon and Pumbaa. He lives in the jungle where he learns how to Hakuna Matata. What a wonder! Exactly. And then he grows up over the course of like a montage. He goes from baby lion to full-grown adult lion over the course of like 3 scenes. Excuse me, over the course of 3 images. And then we find out that Scar has been king and has absolutely ruined everything. And because of that, Nala, one of Simba's friends when he was a kid, comes looking for help, finds Simba. There's some scenes where Simba gets the sense beaten into him by the wise monkey character.
Rafiki.
Rafiki. You followed Rafiki. He knows the way. Do you know the way? Sorry, that's a different thing.
Oh, I'm glad that wasn't a song.
Yeah, and then Simba goes back. He battles Scar. He challenges Scar. He overcomes his past, and he becomes the new Lion King. And then it's the circle of life again, with him having his own kid. Exactly.
And then the drums.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'll make no bones about the fact that this is probably this is my favorite movie of all time. This is now it's partially, I will admit, it's partially because this is the one. I didn't have all of the Disney movies on VHS growing up. This is one of the ones that I had on VHS, and so I watched it over and over again. But even today, the last time I still feel emotions every time I see Mufasa die, even knowing that it's happening. It's like watching him get thrown down into the canyon. It's that hits. That hits.
It gets you. It hits.
Oh, it's brutal. It is brutal. Because I can't remember the last time I saw this. I probably was middle school, maybe high school when I watched it. So it's been years. and then rewatching it, it's just, dang, that still hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But that entire scene is just ridiculous. The music you've got with the wildebeest chase and all that,
Oh man,
it's awesome. But it goes from this awesome intense scene where you think everything's gonna be okay to suddenly everything's not gonna be okay. Oh shoot!
Man,
This game makes you feel like Simba.
Yeah, yeah. You're watching. You watch Mufasa like launch himself up out of the wildebeest. He's crawling up, and Simba's like, "Okay, Dad's safe. I'm gonna go up there and meet him at the top." And then you cut to Scar's perspective, and you're, oh man, that is. I will say, Scar is the best. He's the worst Disney villain, but he's the best Disney villain.
The most despicable.
Yeah, the most despicable. Like, to look your own brother in the eye, to stab him in the hands, because he has his claws out. He stabs him in the hands. Long live the king, and then throw him down to the wildebeest with no remorse. There's no pity. There's no sorrow. Like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have killed my brother. Nope, just.
Who would have thought a guy named Scar would have some nefarious purposes going on?
Who would have thought?
But it really is. It's just old school, like, and this old school animated camera work is on point because there it might as well be a camera in there for how well it's like each of the frames is done almost.
I mean, every single, like, the expressions of the lions are perfect. Like they're not human characters, and yet they have more emotion than a lot of human actors have in some movies. Someone describing just that first scene when you go up onto Pride Rock and you see Mufasa's face. There's so much going on in Mufasa's face in just the one scenes because he's got this very severe, tough, regal face, and then he smiles, but he never loses the toughness. So like, okay, this is a guy who can smile, he can be nice, but he's not someone you want to mess around with. And every like you see Scar's face, and it's all like saggy and mopey, and he's he's got this Jeremy Irons droll that also sells it. Oh man,
they
it's
physically
so
translated it.
Yes, yeah, they physically translated Jeremy Irons' voice into the face of a lion. It's perfect.
It's brilliant. And somehow they did the voice of Darth Vader to look like the face of a lion.
Yeah. Yeah, it is perfect. The animation is spot on in that. And of course, I mean, the plot is, people have made fun of it, and they're like, "Oh, this is like I made fun of it. I made fun of it at the opening. This is Hamlet with lions." It's also the story. It's like this is the story of Osiris, Set, and Horus from Egyptian mythology, right? Like you got the good king, you got the evil brother who kills the good king, and the son who saves his father from the underworld by becoming the good king and overthrowing his uncle. Like this is it's a classic plot, but there's a reason why it's a classic plot.
Mm-hmm. It's not derivative. It's just deliberately.
Yeah. It's not derivative. It's mythological. It's like this story is an archetypal story, and I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but I don't. This might have been the first time Disney ever actually showed a death, because I know like death a lot of times Disney films is mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's brought up, like, or even if it's not brought up, it's sort of hinted at. But the only time I can think of them really highlighting on death, and not even this intensely, would have been Bambi's mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like
that is the other one that is usually brought up, right, as the most traumatic Disney death.
Yeah.
But do they
even then, it's really just heavy implication with what is it? Kind of some what is it? Some quick cuts and sound cues, but it's got the same sting in terms of, I guess, the same emotional sting, because we've got that same buildup of the getting to know that. I mean, it's one of the most relatable relationships. I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's one of the most relatable relationships in history, the parent and the child.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that both of those kind of hit the same. But yeah, I think this is the first time what is it? Instead of him falling off the cliff, we don't just cut away. It's like, yeah.
They dwell on it. They force you to live with it, like he is.
Suffer.
Simba goes over and like tries like to bury himself under his dad's paw, right? Like he's gonna hold him again. Like, man, they just let you watch that scene.
And going back to how evil Scar is, you have not only does he kill his brother, he mentally torments his nephew right before he thinks he's going to kill him. But he can't even give him the decency to tell him, because Scar does have a bit of pride. A bit of pride. So, there you go. I wasn't even trying.
He thinks he's the main event. Oh man!
Good night, everybody. We're done.
The puns are making people physically ill.
Made me cough up some blood, Joe. I hope you're happy.
I am.
Anyway, Jack.
But anyway, but yeah, even with that pride, because he was pretty certain the hyenas were going to kill him right at the end there. He couldn't even give him the decency then to be honest with him before he dies. It's like, no, he was going to let Simba think he had killed his dad before he suddenly died. It's like, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But on a side note, I do think Scar has the best villain song of any of the Disney villain songs. It's probably my favorite song it's hard because I pretty much like all the songs in this movie, but I can say it is my favorite Disney villain song of any we've gotten so far. Probably the best of the Renaissance, without question.
Definitely the best of the villain songs. And it's certainly my favorite song from The Lion King. Because, like I said before, I said before that I love the villain songs in most of these movies, and this is the one that's like, I always think of this.
Yeah, this is the one I probably need to go with. But I absolutely, it has one of the best intros to a movie ever. Just the setup, just the circle of life, and then the immediate cut to the Lion King with the drums, just the words Lion King, and then it goes right into it. It's insane and gets you excited every time.
Yep.
Or at least does for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's great. Oh man.
Now that's the reason why Circle of Life is my favorite. As good as I like Be Prepared, I will agree it's like kind of up there in terms of villain songs. But yeah, that's why Circle of Life's number one for me. It's just the perfect overture.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love because Beauty and the Beast is probably my favorite. Although Lion King might tie for it after rewatching it. I've said before, Beauty and the Beast might be my favorite of the Renaissance. As much as I love that score, Hans Zimmer's score in this film is possibly the best Disney score ever. I mean, every time I'm hearing a song or I'm hearing one playing, it's like, this is really good. And I think I could be wrong. I think it's the only one Hans Zimmer's ever won an Oscar for. And I think that's fair. And Hans Zimmer's done a lot. Like, considering this is the only one he ever won one for, it's like, I think that's saying something. And if you go back, you can't, like, the original soundtrack they made only had a couple songs, but you can find the Legacy edition of the soundtrack, which gives you all of the instrumental tracks Hans Zimmer did on Spotify or wherever. And it's just so good. I mean, like I mentioned already, the Stampede scene, the scene where Simba's finally coming back to Pride Rock.
Oh, yep.
Just all of that. It's like, I guess, I don't know if the right word is world music, but the way he incorporates a lot of that, those African sounds and singing and tribal beats, if you will, to the regular score, really just make the movie, I would say.
I would call it scenic music. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but that's it is the scene of what. Yeah, it's perfect. It's great.
It fits perfectly. Yeah.
Yep.
And Jack, you were right. He did indeed get an Oscar for Best Original Score.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Indeed. And speaking of sounds, I got to bring up this star-studded voice cast. Which, man, boy, are they! It's what is it? Disney casting once again on point, giving us the likes of course, James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons, and then of course we've got who would have thought was it Nathan Lane? I only say Nathan Lane because out of Timon and Pumbaa, I don't know, he was my favorite. Pumbaa's great. Was it Ernie
Oh yeah, Nathan
Sabella,
Lane as Timon, he's the best.
Oh yeah, it's just perfect. And Rowan Atkinson, Zazu, the three hyenas, of course. Yeah, it hit him with a little bit of Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech Marin, but then of course we've got classic strange noisemaker Frank Welker doing Ed. Oh, sorry, Jim Cummings. Yeah, Jim Cummings was Ed. Frank Welker was the other animals. But,
Nice.
Yeah, on point. That's all I gotta say. And then I guess Matthew Broderick was okay too.
I mean, he does a good job of being Simba.
Yeah.
He just
Some people complain. It's like I mean, he might not be the best voice, maybe not as iconic as Mufasa's or Scar's, but I'm trying to think of somebody who could have done his voice better. It's like I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, he just sounds like Matthew Broderick. So I don't really know who could have done better because he doesn't exactly have that. I guess it makes sense though. I mean, you don't want him to be too, I don't know, tough or whatever. I don't know. Just I guess.
No. Well, yeah, because he's supposed to be a little bit clueless. He needs to grow up, right?
I mean, there's sort of that especially you compare it to James Earl Jones' voice, like just this voice of raw confidence. Simba's voice has a bit of this unsureness. Just like, he thinks he's okay, he thinks he's doing stuff all right, but then there's still that hint. It's like, he's still hiding from his past, and it's just that sort of uneasiness. And I think Matthew Broderick did fine with that. I think it worked. I don't think it necessarily took away from the film as much as some people will say it did. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not distracting.
No. Well, one last little thing, because we always end this with did the protagonist grow? But I want to talk about one thing that kind of leads directly into that, which is that I think that Mufasa is the best Disney parrot that we have.
Easily.
Like because because all of the other ones, we talked about Little Mermaid, and Triton is the one who needs to learn something, and in the framing of that movie, whether we agree with that framing or not, but in the framing of the movie, Triton is the one that needs to learn. In Aladdin, the salt is kind of a bumbling oaf. He's a lovable oaf, but he's kind of bumbling. Same with in Beauty and the Beast, right? Crazy old Maurice was in here raving last night because he's a bumbling oaf.
Yep.
But Mufasa, man, that is like as good of a father as I think where you could ever see in for the brief amount of time that he's alive. Unfortunately,
he's too good. Kill him.
He's too good. Yeah. He's too powerful. He's too dangerous to be kept alive.
I mean, he's so good that even when he's dead, he still gives one of the most a scene that still gives me chills. The whole "remember who you are" scene. It's like, dang. It still gets me.
That is really cool.
That is. Whew. Well, so that perfectly segues into: did the protagonist grow at all?
Clear cut. No. I mean, yes. Yeah.
What? Okay.
He did, but what's funny is me thinking about and doing more research on it. I actually came up with a question for you specifically, Joe, since I know you're the big fan. Joseph, obviously, if you have a comment, please do. What's interesting is, would the lions have accepted Simba as king if he had actually accidentally killed Mufasa? Because in the movie, he's taught to confront his past and all of that. But when he does what he thinks is confronting his past, everyone backs away in horror because they think he killed Mufasa and Scar's about to kill him. It's only when they find out he didn't actually kill Mufasa, they come to his aid and help him. So, I mean, all that to say, if they were just going to reject him, let him die after he came out with what happened, then I think this film's actually teaching you to hide from your past as much as you can to get a happy ending.
Well, but the point is all of the truth out, right? Because Simba admits, and then at first it seems to come back to bite him. Literally, like Scar's literally going to bite him, or he's pushing him off the cliff.
Yeah.
Right. And then when all of the truth comes out, that's when the lions come. When all the lionesses come to the attack. So I don't know. I think that the movie is certainly framed in such a way for dramatic tension. It's making it seem like they're not going to attack. But if this was more realistic, quote unquote, Scar is such a bad king that they'd say, well, literally anyone better than Scar.
Right.
Like literally anyone else.
If we went full Hamlet, I mean, he probably would have. Things probably wouldn't have turned out well because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Shakespearean tragedy, but I don't know. What's it? He had the three big players on his side. He had his mother because but she didn't even know he was alive, sort of thing. And then was it Nala? So I mean, hey, maybe I don't know. There's
and Rafiki, right? He
and Rafiki.
Rafiki was in his corner, so yeah, I think I think it would have ended up being longer and less dramatic, but they still would have been on his side.
I think so, and it's sort of I think hope so, but it was interesting to think about because you see that happen. That's the whole thing he's trying to do, and when he finally does it, it's like they, despite being upset, they still accept him. Whereas it feels like when you're just watching it, just at face value, it seems like they're like, oh yeah, we don't like that. Do what you will, Scar, and then they're like, oh no, Scar killed him. We'll help out. Fine, you get a pass this time, Simba.
Bunch of fake friends.
Well, I think I always thought it was more like they're shocked and they're like, okay, we don't know what to do, and then Scar is revealed to be the murderer, and they're like, oh well, now we know what to do. Now there's no question at all what we need to do here.
Scar, the Scar with the name Scar did the bad thing. Nah, that makes sense.
The evil guy with the evil looking face that sounds evil every time he talks did an evil thing. Yeah, we're on him.
But yeah, I think them being in shock, I think that's probably the most believable, especially because it all does happen so fast, so rapidly through all these reveals. I'll accept that.
In the end, rated G, so gotta wrap it up well.
Yep, this is true.
Yeah, I will say at least of all the Renaissance films we covered so far, this would be the one I definitely want to see in theaters just because of the scale of it, just of how massive this film feels. I bet it would just look awesome on a big screen.
Surround sound. Yeah.
Man. Listening to that Hans Zimmer score booming through the speakers. Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yes, this is definitely a very rewatchable film. Like the others I don't mind, haven't minded seeing again, but this is one you just want to go back and watch. It's like, it was. Oh no, it's not been a while. I don't know. Let me watch Lion King or something because it's like, the Renaissance classic,
the
Mona Lisa, King, if you will, the Mona Lisa of Disney, if you will.
Yeah,
sure.
I will. I'll happily accept that prize on their behalf. All right. Well, any other thoughts, gentlemen?
No, off the top of my head. I think, pretty much covered it. Worth a watch if you haven't seen it. If you're one of those three people, go for it.
Yeah, if you are the person who has not seen The Lion King yet, first of all, don't watch the live action version. It's not live action, and also
but they look so realistic. Don't you understand?
Go watch the original Lion King. It is a masterpiece. Chef's kiss. But until then, this has been Background Bites. If you've been listening, thank you. And if not, all you missed is us talking about the best movie that's ever been made. Till next time, bye.
Remember who you listen to.